Hi, this is Jessica with Dining Traveler, and welcome to the Dining Traveler cooking series where we learn to make recipes from our favorite destinations at home, but this time I'm on the road learning from some pros, and I'm here with Angelique from Angelique's Kitchen in Charlottesville at the dairy market. So what are we going to make today?
So today we're going to make corn pudding. This is a recipe that I received from a friend years and years ago, and I started making it and I felt like something was missing. It wasn't creamy enough, so I added some special ingredients to it to make the perfect corn pudding. So I'm really excited to have you all taste all the yumminess from our corn pudding today. A lot of people use the corn pudding as a dessert, but we actually sell it as a side dish.
We're gonna get started and we have all the ingredients, and I'll have to admit that I've had corn pudding plenty of times, but I've never made it at home, so I'm very excited to learn. So, and from Angelique, the master, so tell us what we're doing here.
All right, so the first thing you're going to do is go ahead and take your whole kernel corn and dump it into the mixing bowl.
And you mentioned you want to drain this very well. Why is that?
Well, if you don't drain it, it's going to, when you bake your corn pudding, you want to see, if you take it out the oven, you're going to see water floating up top. So you want to make sure it's nice and tight and get that proper texture.
Awesome.
And the extra juice from the corn will not give you that. Then you're going to add your cream corn, your 4 cans of cream corn, which is in the can. You just dump all 4 of those. Go ahead and add your butter. So that's about a stick of butter. And the trick to making corn pudding is once you add an item, you have to start mixing immediately. So go ahead and stir the butter in with the cream corn and the whole kernel corn.
So 1/4 cup of sugar.
1/4 cup of sugar. You can go by your sweetness. Sometimes I use a 1/2 cup, sometimes a 1/4 cup. But you know, it just depends on your sweetness level that you like. And then you're going to do a pinch of salt. I'm just going to hand it to you because I've already put that in there for you.
Okay.
So you just drop that inside there.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. And I always say that salt really don't make much of a difference, but it does make a difference.
So I always had that question, like when it's a pinch of salt, is it like performative? Does it really make a difference?
You know what? I'm going for yes.
Yes. Okay.
So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and get the sweetened condensed milk. A lot of people ask me, is corn pudding a dessert or is it like, a vegetarian side dish? I say corn pudding is a dessert. People don't realize it. So that's a 1/2 box of Jiffy right there. And I've already taken half. So I'm going to dump that all in there. As you can see, you don't have to use that much. So the thing is, when I first started this recipe, trying to play around with the corn muffin mix, I was adding too much corn muffin mix and my corn pudding kept being really dry.
Okay.
Like, what am I doing here? Why can't I get this right? So I had to play around with the corn muffin mix and the water until I finally got it right. So you cannot use, it doesn't take a lot of mix. All right, you're going to go ahead and get that water. That's about a 1/2 cup of water. You're going to dump all of that in there. And that's going to really help settle the corn muffin mix. To have that bake at a proper balance there.
Okay.
And then the last thing I add is the eggs. And once again, it's really, really important to have the eggs beaten really, really well.
Wow. And Angelique, you were mentioning that you are retired. Like, you look super young, but you are a retired HR manager for hotels.
Yes. I worked for the DoubleTree by Hilton Hotel for 20 years as HR director. And I finally retired in November of 2020 to start working for myself, to own my own restaurant. I had worked previously years before, purchased a food truck, was working weekends, doing festivals, was excited from it. And I just talked to my husband and I said, this is what I want to do. I'm just so much happier when I'm working festivals or working the food truck, when I'm making corn pudding. That's perfect.
Okay, that's good.
Perfect. You see how pretty that is?
That is very pretty.
Nice.
And the good thing is that you can put another, like a smaller, maybe a square dish, freeze it. Can you freeze it and then bake it later?
You can, absolutely. Okay. So one thing about the corn pudding, before we place it inside the oven, it's really, really important to cover it up. That way, you want your corn pudding to bake from the bottom to the top. And the heat, the temperature, really, by covering up, that really helps with the temperature rising from the bottom to the top. Just so you have an even flow of your corn pudding. Okay. And right now, you can see how the corn pudding is. You can tell when it's done when the edges, of course, start getting a little darker. And when you do this, it's like solid. You don't see any gibber.
Okay, so and how long would it take for?
It takes about 45 minutes to an hour to cook.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have to cook it on a high temperature in order for it to cook evenly. All right, so we're going to take it and place it in the oven. We're going to put it at the bottom of the oven. That's really important. We're going to set the temperature to about 375. So it looks like our corn pudding has baked for about 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to take it out of the oven. Ooh, look at that. I can smell all the goodness there. And look at that. Look at all that creaminess there. Mmm. That looks amazing. Angelique style creamy corn pudding.
So I'm here with the finished product and it smells delicious. I wish there was like a scratch and sniff version of the video, but sorry, we don't have it. And Angelique, you were saying that you have a really amazing project coming up. What is that?
Yes. So right now I am currently working on writing my own cookbook. It's not going to be a super big, thick book, but it's going to be a book of all my side dishes. And one of those dishes is going to be featured will be the corn pudding.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your recipe. I know that these are things that we keep, there are legacies for generations to come. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time. And make sure if you're in Charlottesville, make sure you check out Angelique's Kitchen. Now we get to try Angelique's delicious corn pudding. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any feedback or questions, please leave them in the comments, and please do not forget to like and subscribe. Bye.